So today we're going to figure out how to answer questions like, what is 40% of $90? So let's assume that you're going to a store, you want to buy maybe a winter coat. They're on sale this weekend for Veterans Day sale, who knows. It's a $90 coat, it's 40% off. Let's just pretend. Well, this is actually a terrible example, because if it is 40% off, you shouldn't be calculating what 40% of 90 is. You should, to make your life easier. Now, let's talk about this since we already brought it up. If something is 40% off, normally what we usually have you do is figure out, okay, well, what's 40% of that item, and then you subtract it from $90. And then whatever is left is what you end up paying. Well, that's two steps. You got to figure out the 40% off, and then you got to subtract it. That's a lot to keep track of. And that is not something that, if I'm personally in the store doing this, I'm not doing that. Because there's a faster way. I don't know what the answer is yet. I'm not there. I want to tell you that there's a faster way to figure out what the final price of the item is if it's 40% off. If an item is 40% off, how much of it are you actually paying? 60%, right? So it's actually a whole lot faster to just figure out what 60% of the item is, because then you don't have to subtract. Isn't that something? It's so much faster. So next time you're at a DSW does that all the time. Do you ever shop at DSW, the shoe store? Yeah. That big shoe store? So they have all those clearance racks in the back, and the different colors are different percentages off. You got to use the chart, otherwise you're going to be doing so much math, right? But it's so much faster if it's 30% off. Hey, that just means I'm paying 70%. So I'll just figure out 70% of the number, and I don't have that whole second step to do. But anyway, let's assume that I'm just, maybe it is a sale that's at 60% off, and I'm going to pay 40. Oh my gosh, all the time. So let me show you how to do is over of equals percent over 100. First of all, let me save you. What even is that? It's a proportion. And it literally looks like this. Is over of equals percent over 100. This is called the percent proportion. And this is great because you have three spots here, is, of, and percent, that you're going to fill in with numbers or a variable if you don't know what goes there. 100 will always be there, so that one's set in stone there. And then here's how you fill it in. You're going to read the sentence, and whatever is right next to these words goes in that spot. So, what is means that the is spot is going to be a variable because it has the word what with it. 40%, obviously anything with a percent sign goes in the percent spot. And then of $90. So 90 is going to go in the of spot. So when you actually put this in, this is what it's going to look like. So I'm going to replace is with an X, because that's what I don't know. 40%, thank you. So 40 will go in the percent spot. Of 90, 90 goes in the of spot, and then 100 always goes down here. So that's how you fill in the percent proportion. And now you guys already know how to solve this. What do? What do I do? Cross multiply, right. So I'm going to get 100x equals 3,600. Oops. And then I just divide both sides by 100. So $36, thank you, would be 40% of 90. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay, let's try another one just like this. And you try it. You fill in the pieces. And then we'll try another style. How about, what is 95% of, I don't know, 80. So use that same is over of equals percent over 100. Fill in those three numbers. Well, I shouldn't say that. Two of them will be numbers, one will be a variable. 100 always goes in that bottom right corner. And it does matter where they go. So if it's got a percent sign on it, that automatically goes in the percent spot. And then it's just the is and the of that you need to figure out. You have an answer? Oh boy, you got a couple answers. Well, let's backtrack. So 100 always goes here. What's going to go in the is spot? Tyler? X, correct. What is? So that's the one I don't know. What's going to go in the percent spot? Jed? 95. It's got a percent sign on it, so that automatically goes in the percent spot. And then what's going to go down here for of? Kaden? Correct. So there is my correct proportion. Now I just have to cross multiply and solve. So hopefully everybody got 100x equals to 8 times 80 times 95, 7,600. Divide both sides by 100. 76. Oops. Why am I writing a 5? I don't know. Whoops, 76. It's also a great idea to just see if your answer is reasonable. 95% of 80, well, that's an awful lot, right? 95% is almost 100. So I'm expecting a number that's almost 80, but not quite. So 76 was very reasonable. So if I had messed up and I got 7.6, then I'd say, oh, it should have been a number really close to 80. I must have messed up somewhere. Or if I got a number that was over 80, it shouldn't be. It should be a little bit less than 80 because 80 would be 100%. Okay, I'm going to change the way the question's worded now. See if we can still do it, if it's a different order. Let's try this one. So start off with your proportion and put 100 down there in the corner. And then see if you can figure out what goes in those other three spaces. You have an answer? Hold on to it. Before you, well, as you're thinking about your answer, I want you to think 30 out of 125. Is this going to be a big percentage or a small percentage? It should be small, right? If I imagine this was a test and I only got 30 out of 125 points or whatever, my percent grade is going to be pretty low. Okay, so I'm not expecting, is it going to be more than half? Higher than 50%? No, it certainly shouldn't be, because half of 125 is what, 62 and a half, and I have less than that. So I'm expecting something less than 50% as my answer. All right, let's walk through our sentence. it says, what percent? So X goes where? Yes, in the percent spot. This time it's the percent that I don't know what it is. So I put the X in the percent spot. Then I continue to read. Of 125. So 125 will go bottom. And that leaves is 30 to be up on the top there. So please check that you filled in your proportion the same way. And now all I have to do is cross multiply. I get 125x equal to 3,000. $3,000 divided by 125. 24, which is a reasonable, and now because my answer, I'm looking for a percent, make sure you put the percent sign on your answer. How was that? Okay, let's try another one. How about okay. I was thinking how to phrase this one. I think I can do it this way. Try this one. What number is 5% of 12? Oh, that's not what I wanted either. Whatever. It's fine. Oh, I know what I wanted. Okay. Okay, we got answers? Jed, what goes in the is spot? X in this case. What number is? So I'm going to put an X in the is spot. What goes in the percent spot? 5. It has a percent sign on it, so it automatically goes there. What goes in the of spot? 12. And then we always have 100 here. Okay, cross multiply. Quick. I get 100x equals 60 divided by 100 divided by 100, 0.6. Should this answer have a percent sign on it or not? No. You only put a percent sign on your answer when you're looking for a percent. Okay, one more style. Try that. This one's a little bit different. See if you can figure out all the places that the numbers go, what makes sense, what doesn't make sense. It could be. Let me ask you before we talk about answers, Should my answer be something bigger than 42 or less than 42? It should be bigger. Yeah, so did everybody hear that before I even start? 42 is 19% of what number? So 42 is only 19% of this bigger number. So I'm expecting a number as my answer that's quite a lot bigger than 42. Because 42 is only 19% of this big number. So let's try it. Put 100 down in the corner. Sometimes I also like to start with the filling in the percent because it's right there. It's got the percent on it. So I know 19 goes there. 42 is. Where will that go, guys? It's got to go up on the top in the is spot, which leaves of what number will be an X right there. Did you guys fill in the proportion correctly? All right, then now it's just a matter of solving it. So 4,200 divided by 19 gets me 221.05. Which is a number that's quite a bit bigger than 42, so that makes sense. Okay, guys, how do we feel about is over of? The other thing that you need to remember about is over of is you need to remember the original proportion. Is over of equals percent over 100. So that you just have to commit to memory. Okay? Is over of, percent over 100. So I mentioned that there is another way to do this. This is how I learned it. I didn't learn is over of until I started teaching here. I had never seen it before, and I was like, wow, that's really kind of cool. But I have found that sometimes it's easier for me personally to just do the equation. Why? Well, sometimes your sentence doesn't have those words. It doesn't have is and of in it. So now I'm like, you can rewrite it so that it has it. For example, if I said find 12% of 90, this doesn't have the word is, it doesn't have the word is in it. I could rewrite it to say what is 12% of 90, and then it's the same thing. But my brain doesn't work like that. I don't know. So here's an option, the percent equation. You're literally just going to go through and turn the words into a math equation. So for example, let's say we wanted to do what is 17% of 34. Okay, so just like always, what is a variable? So I call that x. What's is really mean in math? As a math equals, yes, is just turns into an equal sign. And then I take 17% and I just change it into a decimal. That is one part that I don't like, is that now you have to worry about converting. I don't think any of you are going to use this. But anyway, if you were, 17% as a decimal is what? 0.17. And then what's of in math as a symbol? Multiply. So you can get the same answer by just doing 0.17 times 34. And you're done. So I don't care which method you use. Oops, 34. 5.78 I get. And you can try it with any different style. So even if I had done like, how did I phrase that other one? Yeah, how about 70 is 125% of what number? So if you're going to use the equation, I just 70 is an equal sign. Change this to a decimal. So what is 125% as a decimal? 1.25. Of is times. What number is just my variable? So now I have an equation, and I just solve my equation, divide both sides by the 1.25. So, like I said, I don't care what you do as long as you find a method that works for you and you are doing it correctly. I think most of you are probably going to do is over of. Am I correct? I just wanted you to see. Either way, you can do what you like. You ready to try some? Oh, of course you are.